His Highness the Amir, Sheikh Al-Ahmad Al-Sabah, presided over the closing session of the 34th Summit of their Majesties and Highnesses, leaders of the Gulf Cooperation Council member states, which was held earlier today. In a speech at the outset of the session, His Highness the Amir called on the Gulf countries to double their efforts in bolstering joint actions and protecting the interests of their people in a better manner. His Highness added that the regional and international challenges highlighted the importance of the summit in discussing the current circumstances and evaluating their impact on the Gulf region. His Highness asserted that the march covered so far by the GCC proved that it's capable of serving the people of the region and defending their high interests. His Highness also called for boosting cooperation and integration among member states in different domains. His Highness Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad bin Khalifa Al Thani, the Emir of the State of Qatar, then delivered a speech and invited Their Majesty and Highnesses, the GCC leaders, to the 35 Summit Conference, which will be hosted by Qatar next year.
المعالي والسعادة بحمد الله وتوفيقه نختتم أعمال الدورة 34 للمجلس الأعلى لمجلس التعاون لدول الخليج العربية. أصحاب الجلالة والسمو، فقد العالم رجلا ناضل لعقود في سبيل نيل الحرية لبلاده والعدل والمساواة لشعبه، فكان مناضلا صلبا سطر أروع صور الكفاح ضد التمييز العنصري. وأنني لا أتقدم باسمكم إلى جمهورية جنوب أفريقيا الصديقة قيادة وشعبا بأحر التعازي وصادق المواساة بوفاة الرئيس الأسبق نيلسون مانديلا. أصحاب الجلالة والسمو، كم سعدنا بوجودكم إخوة أعزاء بين أهلكم على مدى يومين في فرصة كريمة تبادلنا خلالها وجهات النظر حول القضايا والتحديات التي تواجه بيتنا الخليجي، وتوصلنا بعون من الله وتوفيقه ثم ببعد نظركم وحكمتكم إلى مجموعة من القرارات ستسهم دون شك في تعزيز مسيرة عملنا الخليجي المشترك، وستحقق آمال وتطلعات شعوبنا المشهودة. وفي الختام أجدد الشكر لكم لتلبية الدعوة لحضور هذه الدورة، كما لا يفوتني أن أشكر معالي الأمين العام لمجلس التعاون لدول الخليج العربية عبد اللطيف الزياني والأمناء مساعدين وجهاز الأمانة العامة، والشكر موصول إلى سكرتارية الأمانة العامة وإلى كافة اللجان العاملة في الإعداد لاجتماعات هذه الدورة، ولكل من شارك في الترتيب والتنظيم لها، ومن لم تسعفني الإشارة إليه على كل ما بذلوه من جهود مقدرة ومشكورة. صحبتكم رعاية الله وحفظه ورافقتكم عنايته، متطلعين بكل أمل وتفاؤل بإذن الله تعالى إلى لقائنا في الدورة القادمة في دولة قطر الشقيقة بضيافة أخينا العزيز صاحب السمو الشيخ تميم بن حمد آل ثاني. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
The GCC Secretary General then read out the final communique at the end of the 34th Summit, which was held on December the 10th and 11th, 2013. The communique said, in response to the invitation of His Highness Sheikh Al-Ahmad Al-Sabah, Amir of the State of Kuwait, the GCC Supreme Council convened in Kuwait on the 10th and 11th of December under the chairmanship of His Highness Sheikh Al-Ahmad Al-Sabah, Amir of the State of Kuwait and President of the current session. The communique added that the Supreme Council congratulated His Highness the Amir of the State of Kuwait on assuming chairmanship of the current session and highly commended his opening speech, which reflected his keenness on activating joint action among member states. The communiqué appreciated the good efforts exerted by His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa of the Kingdom of Bahrain during his chairmanship of the 33rd session. The leaders also welcomed His Highness Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, Amir of the State of Qatar, and congratulated him for his ascension to power in his country, wishing him all the best of success in bringing in greater progress and prosperity to Qatar and its honourable people. The Council also highly appreciated the contributions made by His Highness the Father Amir in Qatar, Sheikh Hamad bin Khalifa Al Thani. The communiqué went on to say that the GCC Supreme Council welcomed the outcome of the Third Arab-African Summit, which convened in Kuwait on the 18th and 20th of November 2013, and highly praised the content of the speech delivered by His Highness Sheikh Al-Ahmad Al-Sabah during that summit, as well as Kuwait Declaration, which was adopted at the end of the summit. The communiqué said the Council congratulated His Highness Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan, President of the United Arab Emirates, and His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Vice President, Prime Minister and ruler of Dubai, as well as the rest of the UAE people, for selecting Dubai to host Expo 2020, wishing them all the best of success. The Supreme Council expressed heartfelt condolences to the Republic of South Africa and its people for the passing away of the historic leader Nelson Mandela, and highly appreciated his life, which was full of struggle for freedom. The communiqué said the leaders reviewed the recommendations and reports of the GCC various committees and the Ministerial Council regarding what was achieved since the previous session, and discussed the latest political developments not only in the region but also across the world, and adopted the appropriate resolutions as follows. In the economic affairs, the summit adopted a number of rules which were intended to foster integration among the financial markets in the region, and reviewed reports related to the follow-up of water interconnection and water security, beside work progress in the monetary union of the Council. The summit also commended the measures taken so far for the implementation of its resolutions regarding the economic agreement, and underlined the importance of the continuing implementation of the economic integration. Regarding the joint military action, the summit agreed on the establishment of the Unified Military Command and asked the Joint Defence Council to take necessary measures in this respect. The Supreme Council also approved the establishment of Gulf Academy for Strategic and Security Studies. With regard to the fight against terrorism, the GCC Supreme Council reasserted its firm stance of rejecting all kinds of terrorism, regardless of the motive behind it. The Council also expressed its support for any regional or international efforts intended to fight terrorism and the terrorist organizations, and renewed its call for invigorating the resolutions and the statement issued by the regional and international organizations and conferences. Meanwhile, Kuwait Declaration, which was adopted by the GCC Supreme Council in its current meeting in the State of Kuwait, called for further economic and financial integration among the member states. The declaration said the leaders in their meeting in Kuwait called for the activation of economic resolutions to contribute to prosperity of the Gulf people. They also underlined the importance of achieving projects in order to fulfill aspirations of the Arab people of the Gulf, as well as implementation of all resolutions which have not been implemented until now, since they are bound to promote benefits and interests to the GCC people. Kuwait declarations also called for completion of requirements for the establishment of the monetary union, with the objective of reaching the single Gulf currency in compliance with the economic agreement provisions. The GCC leaders also called for speeding up the integrating infrastructure projects of railway, electricity and water linkage, as well as environment protection. Kuwait declaration added that the leaders blessed all efforts aimed at investing the energy of the youth with a view to backing relations and cooperation among this group in the Gulf countries.